Good morning, Ibadan. Good morning, Nigeria and beyond. Welcome to another engaging edition of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. I am Samson Balogun.
And I am Abby Dickinson. Welcome, wonderful people. I hope you had a lovely weekend. Welcome to another edition of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television.
All right, today is an important one. It is the World Day for Safety and Health at Work, and that's exactly what we'll be taking a look at on today's edition of Daybreak Live. It is set aside to promote safer, healthy and decent working conditions around the world. Maybe people think when we talk about safe conditions at work, they think it's about a helmet and then construction sites. Okay,
yes, actually we're celebrating World Day of Safety and Health at work. And it will interest you to know that this is observed every April, annually on April 28th. And the purpose for the World Health, the purpose for the World Day of Safety and Health is actually to promote the prevention of occupational accidents and diseases globally. For this year, 2025, the focus is on revolutionizing the health and safety, and also the role of AI and digitalization at work. This theme actually emphasizes how artificial intelligence and digitalization, that's digital technology, is changing work. It's changing things in the workplace, actually. Well, like you said, when it comes to workplaces, they just think it's about the site. No, health is also important. Safety is important, whether you're working on site or not,
Well, talking about health and safety at work, people, as we said earlier, it is way beyond, helmets, construction sites. There are so many things people should be looking at, especially employers, even employees too. As much as your employers want to protect you, they want you to be safe, they want you to be sound, you must also protect yourself against all these things. And one of the very key points is the mental health.
Mental health is important. And especially when it comes to here in Nigeria with our hustle culture, everybody is rushing. You have a deadline to meet. Sometimes you even skip breaks and just work for like 12 hours straight, and then at the end you're feeling why you are so burnt out. Everybody is rushing, but I think sometimes it's a bit too real.
It's actually real, because in this part of the world we pay less attention to mental health, and that's one thing that has affected so many people. People don't actually know when to stop. They think, oh, I still have the deadline to meet, I have so minutes to get across the line, and then while doing that you totally forget that your body is not a machine. You are totally in charge, and you should know when to put a stop to things you are doing that probably might affect you along the night. And also talking about mental health, I think overworking yourself too can make you break down at a point.
It can,
you have
definitely. You have to know when to stop.
And even employers must know exactly when to say, look, what you are giving you is enough, even when the employee wants to do more.
Sometimes it just takes a little. Sometimes when we talk about health, you're working out because you have a deadline to meet and all that. But sometimes, that slight headache is a warning. Sometimes you don't even need OTC drugs or medicines. You just maybe need a little rest. Maybe just put your head on your desk, take a little nap. You could doze off for 5 minutes and it will just get you back.
So many employees, especially in this part of the world, they are totally against you taking a nap at work. And that's exactly why we need to sensitize people on the need that even when your employee decides to, look, I want to take a break, there's a reason for it, except, for laziness sometimes. And you would know if, such employee is being lazy. But then
it happens.
For an employee that really has been dedicated, knows his onions, does his job as and when due, you have to know that when such employee decides to, take a nap and say, look, I need to rest. I saw a clip of, employees in China, I think probably 2 years ago, that just draw your chair back, stretch it a little bit, and then you take a nap.
Just a nap. It's not that you're dozing off at work, but hey, sometimes the dozing off actually helps. And according to statistics from the ILO, that's the International Labour Organization, it says that for every 15 seconds, a worker dies. from work-related accidents and disease. So we need to take our health really seriously. And it will also interest you to know that the International Labour Organization plays a central and significant role, you know, when it comes to promoting and organizing this day. They do that through events, resources and publications.
All right, from there, we're still talking about mental health. You know, a couple of times you'll see employees too are trying to outsmart their employers. Sometimes they'll be taking a nap, and then when the employer comes in, I'm trying to, you know, meditate, something like that.
It's the same thing. You meditate and you just close your eyes a bit.
The moment you get the tap, then you try to at least cook something up. Look, I'm trying to meditate. I'm trying to think of something, the book, I'm trying to balance things like that. And then before you know it, you know, the case is settled. But then, away from there, talking about employers not understanding when to say, look, you need a rest. So a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a friend of mine who works in the private sector, requested for a leave of absence due to on health grounds. At least he has done that for the last, I think, 2 months, and that leave has not been granted. And then no cogent reason why the leave was turned down. You know,
talking about when you're talking about your friend or colleague, your friend, right? You know, I actually watched a movie not too long ago. You know, this is just not too long ago. This was happening somewhere, you know, at work, and the guy went to his boss and begged, I am not feeling well. In fact, the colleague saw him and said, okay, tell the boss, but this boss is too strict for their liking. Do you know that the boss refused? He said, instead, if you go out of this office now, don't come back. And hey, how much is this guy receiving? He just has to manage to take care of his family. And he stayed. Guess what? The matter was serious, and they had to rush him to the hospital, his colleagues. And that's when he gave up. He died. Really sad.
Honestly, talking about that too, well, I think workplaces, employers need to have a rule book that states, you know, your rights, even at work. I also states the fact that, you know, when you go against any of these rules, these are things that happen. And then that gives the employer and the employee the leverage to know, okay, we have a common ground. And then when that is done, I think all these things will be sorted out amicably.
I pray it works out well, but take good care of your health. It's important. So today, we encourage everyone, employers, employees, and business owners, no matter what you do, whether you have an office in Dubai, you work in a factory at Oluyole, or you just have a small shop at Bodija Market, please take your health seriously. Let it be a habit and not just a one-off campaign.
Before we go on that, let's also talk about a clean working environment, good lighting. These are things, basic things employers should also provide for employees, because you are working in an office, you can't even see clearly, affect your sight, and then when you are done with the job, you begin to nurse that particular issue. So it means that the employee should also look into basic things that requires fixing at office places, which will aid and help employees get their job done as soon as possible.
As employees are doing that, we also encourage the employer is doing that, the employees as well. Maintenance of these basic amenities. A lot of offices provide these. You go to the toilets and it's, you know, messed up. By who? You. You don't expect the employees to come and start cleaning that toilet after you. So even employees have a role to play. While the employer is making provisions, employees should also do the needful.
Well, I think it's a symbiotic relationship. Facilities are provided. You make sure that you put it to good use, and then it's maintained. It's a win-win situation for both parties.
You know, we have a problem with maintenance culture in this part of the world.
I think it's is it an African thing or a Nigerian thing?
I wonder. Maybe I would say a Nigerian thing.
Because you go to facilities and will be wondering, oh, a few years ago, this facility happens to be one of the best in the world, maybe best in Africa, best in Nigeria, best in Ibadan.
But after
a while, you begin to realize the fact that, no, what happened? And then to maintain is actually cheaper than doing complete overhauling. So it means that as an employee, you want to bear the brunt if your employer decides to leave it that way, because they have tried and then they realize the fact that you have been putting you know, these facilities to bad use. Then they'll keep looking.
Exactly. And when these facilities are bad, that's where the disease is coming from. You know, you don't clean the toilets, you wash something, you let it go like that. Flies are hovering all around. We're talking about cholera, bacteria, and the rest of it, and then you get sick, and then you cannot walk and you cannot feed your family. Or take care of yourself.
All right, that brings us to a close on this segment of the show this morning. Good morning again. The show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll go straight to Daybreak News with Ronke Giwa on Nofua this morning.
Good morning. This is the Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Ronke Giwa on Nofua. The federal government have signed a landmark agreement with the Empower School of Health, Geneva, to establish a regional training hub for pharmaceutical manufacturing in the country. Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, disclosed this in a broadcast. He revealed that 70 new healthcare manufacturing companies are partnering the federal government on 22 large-scale projects with negotiations presently ongoing. He described the new initiative, Empower Academy Nigeria, as a giant step forward under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. The Oyo State government has promised to boost the state's economy through the promotion of Adire industry, saying all is set for the maiden Adire Expo in Ibadan. Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Dr. Wasiu Olatubosun, stated this at a stakeholders meeting in Ibadan. He said that the highly anticipated cultural event will hold 20th June 2025 at the Cultural Center in Ibadan. He revealed that the carnival will be organized in collaboration with Olori Aderonke Ademilui. He said that the partnership reflects the Seyi Makinde-led administration's commitment to promoting cultural tourism and supporting heritage industries across the state. Now on to human trafficking. The Oyo State Police Command has uncovered a human trafficking ring in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. A major operation. The police rescued 83 individuals and a child from a house in the Orogun area of the city, where they had allegedly been held for an undisclosed period. Reports suggest that the victims, believed to be nationals of the Democratic Republic of Congo, were lured to Nigeria under the pretense of being offered employment opportunities. Rescued individuals were taken to the police headquarters in Eleyele, Ibadan, where authorities are conducting further investigations to ascertain the full details of the case. Now, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency said it has intercepted 589 bags of Canadian Loud, a strong strain of cannabis worth over ₦1 billion only in street value in a Lagos hotel. It was disclosed in a statement by its director, Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi. He said that the illicit drug, with a total weight of 417.3 kilograms, was seized during an operation in the 80-room hotel in Victoria Island, which it said was used as cover for distributing illicit substances. It disclosed that no fewer than 3 were arrested in the course of the operation at the 5-story hotel building between Friday 25th April and Saturday 26th April, while 2 other suspects were currently at large. Meanwhile, Adamawa State Governor Amadou Fintiri, has suspended indefinitely the Emir of Daware, Alhaji Hassan Ja'faru. It was disclosed in a letter and made available to newsmen. Ja'faru, the former district head of Daware in Fufore local government, was investigated and found guilty of corruption, maladministration, breach of security and other offences. He directed the district head to hand over all government property in his possession to the secretary of the district. Now in business, the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation has started payment of 46.6 billion in liquidation dividends to depositors of the defunct Heritage Bank. It was contained in a statement by the corporation's acting head, Communication and Public Affairs, Hawel Gambo. He said that the funds were realized from sales of the bank's assets and recovery of debts owed. He added that liquidation dividends may also cover payments to creditors and shareholders once all depositors have been fully reimbursed. NDIC began payment of the first tranche of liquidation dividends on the 25th of April. And now talking sports, Enyimba defeated holders Rangers 2-1 in a keenly contested Oriental Derby at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium, Enugu yesterday. The visitors scored twice in the first half through Innocent Gabriel and Ekene Awazie. Okore reduced the deficit for Rangers in the 66th minute. The win boosted Enyimba's chances of securing a continental ticket. The Warriors returned to third position courtesy of a 3-1 home win over Shooting Stars. Ojonugwa opened the scoring for Imama Akpabio's side after 7 minutes, while Anthony Joma added a second for the hosts 12 minutes later. Megor scored his side's third goal 5 minutes after the break. Now you can visit our website to listen to us live and interact with us. You can follow us across our social media platform on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. That ends Daybreak News. I'm Ronke Giwa Onofuwa. Good
All right, welcome back from that short break. That was Daybreak News on Dominion Television, your channel of choice. Don't forget, you can be a part of the conversation and watch us live on our website at dominion.org.ng. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch us live there at Dominion Broadcast. And of course, link up with us on all other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast. And on X, it is at Dominion Cast. We now head straight to our newspaper review segment this morning, where we bring you the major stories on the pages of the newspaper. Today, we'll be starting with the Nigerian Tribune. And the major headline says, Tinubu's government making efforts to dismantle democratic foundations. Odinkalu, Ojudu, Jinadu, 15 others won. That's on page 23, and the writers there says won against countries' march towards one-party system. We didn't fight to end military dictatorship, only to enthrone civilians. Also, authoritarianism. They say Tinubu not building one-party state. That's coming from the presidency. You will find that story on the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
All right, also from the Nigerian Tribune on the bottom left, 50 billion earmarked 50 billion and allowance. We didn't rely on money released on paper. This is coming from ASU, and you can find the story on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune.
Also, the Nigeria targets a single-digit inflation, job creation, and global uncertainty amid global uncertainty. That's coming from Wale Edun, the coordinating minister of the economy, on page 19 of the Nigerian Tribune. I think this is going to be a good thing if Nigeria can achieve that single-digit inflation as against what we currently have, which will actually help Nigerians. At least if that, the decrease in inflation in Nigeria affects the price of commodities in the market positively, then Nigerians will be happy.
I was just going to say that when you say single digit will be better, and I'm like, even if the prices come down, will it show?
That's the
will
point.
Our people ready to bring down their prices?
That's the point. I think we spoke about regulation the other time. We also spoke about Nigerians also having pity on Nigerians, because things Nigerians do to Nigerians also has a lot to do with what's going on right now.
Exactly.
You get to hear about certain prices somewhere and how cheap some products are, and then when you go to your nearby stores, neighborhood markets, you realize that they are totally different stories. Then you begin to wonder, are you not buying from the same market?
That is, even you are talking of shops there. Have you gone to the market and you buy from this
Point
Mr. A is saying this, you just move, the next person is another. I've experienced it, and like
and then you wonder why such person is adamant on that price, and then when you move away from that place and then go to the next person, the price is different. What changed? Are you not buying from the same place?
Even if they're not buying the same product, different pricing, and not a small increase, very significant.
That's where government regulation comes.
Exactly.
Aside
Regulation
from the fact
is
that
important.
we're expecting the government to make policies available that help the ordinary Nigerians, they should also look into how Nigerians will not rate Nigerians off.
Interesting. Okay, still on the Nigerian Tribune, Fitch upgrades Lagos, Oyo, Kaduna, Kogi to stable as Sanwo-Olu promises more action. You can find the story on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune.
And on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune, Nasima, OPS worry over World Bank's 50% poverty projection for 2027, offer short-term measures to reverse trend. That's on page 7. I think that's it's a really big story which we actually look at this morning. 50% poverty projection, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It is.
Meaning that more Africans, more Nigerians, more people around the world will be plunged into abject poverty. That will be a total disaster. And then we should look at what's the role of the World Bank, what's the role of other world powers who actually have a huge stake in the World Bank. What exactly are they doing to actually put an end to this before it gets worse? If people are sliding gradually into poverty, means that the health system will fail.
People are already in poverty, then we're talking of
more people sliding into poverty.
It's
because
terrible.
If you cannot afford basic healthcare system, means that the family is
even basic foods that you should eat. I mean, if there are places sometimes if you even eat right, you might not fall sick.
Someone jokingly said something a few days ago, saying it is only when you have eaten that you begin to think of balanced diet. That struck me somewhere.
No, I've said it before.
There used to be a time where there's a schedule in every family house. You know what you are taking in the morning, what you are taking in the afternoon. There were 3 complete square meals. Even Jara will come at the point. You have some things like snacks, in between. And then your 3 square meals will be complete. And then you have a schedule. You have probably a meal that has a huge protein, one has huge days, carbohydrate and the likes, and then it's totally balanced. And then
different
all of a sudden, somehow things changed. And then people no longer think of, am I okay?
That's why now you don't ask that question. Okay? Are you okay? Do you want some more?
They no longer ask. Once your food has been dished, that's it.
That's it.
You can have 25 liters of water to augment that, but nobody cares anymore. Even parents are now beginning to look the other way. This is what I can afford. Please, just manage.
But when you have kids,
You know, there are some
especially
kids,
the young ones, they don't want to hear.
You know,
I mean, we brought them into this world, you have to take care of them.
There are some, there's an age grade of kids where you can't even do that. You can't try it.
You can't with your kids.
They're going to mess you up and then expose you to the world.
You want to eat 20 times a day. You will provide the food for them.
All
right, still on the Nigerian Tribune, Ayo Adebanjo, a courageous leader, advocate of United Nigeria, says Abure, Rhodes, Vivo, MPF and others as Labour Party holds night of tributes for late elder statesman. You can find this on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, I will take this story on the lower third of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. IMF's 37.0% inflation projection. LCCI expresses concerns, says nation's economy vulnerable to external shocks. That's on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. We just spoke about that. And then last week, I think we laid emphasis on the fact that will every country around the world, especially the developing countries, be able to withhold this current wave of inflation and, you know, the projection of the IMF? Will they be able to stand it? Do they have enough in the bank? Do they have, you know, did they prepare for a thing like this?
Nobody prepares. Well, I won't say nobody.
No,
I won't say nobody prepares
because you have to be prepared for all eventualities. If it goes this way, I think we have this to you know, to put an end to it. If it goes this way,
to fall back on.
We can actually, though we might not be able to totally correct this, but then we have a plan that, you know, at one point or the other will help us sustain it until we can actually be on our feet. Do countries in Africa have this? Over-reliance on, you know, countries outside the shores of Nigeria is actually a major problem. You depend on a country like China for imports, on a country like the United States, Japan for vehicles, and then you begin to think, don't we have enough to put Nigeria on the global mark?
At least we have somebody that you know, manufactures cars here. Innocent.
Innocent does, but then we also have some you know, companies who actually assemble. They don't actually
yes, that's the word.
They assemble. They ship in the spare parts in bits and then they come here, they put it together. But at the point, people will tell you labor is cheaper in some places, so they prefer to bring them in and then sell in Nigeria. And then there was a point in Nigeria where Nigerians buy pan vehicles, you know, brand new. Tiaroba, as you put it. And then a time came that even Nigerians can buy Tokumbo vehicles. They cannot afford to buy it. It's going to millions and millions of naira. A car that used to be 1.2 million naira, for example, about 2, 3, 4 years ago, is now being sold for 5.6. You begin to wonder, where is that coming from?
But you know the funny thing, we even have a way of doing our own Tiaroba these days. Have you noticed?
Well, Nigerians will buy, refurbish, and then start using.
They will now put the nylon. I've seen it happen, even in mechanic shops. I see it and say, oh wow, this is new. And then when you see it, it's Tiaroba. I mean, we're very creative people, I must say.
They are converting old vehicles to, you know, new models
these
now.
days.
They just change some spare parts, change the mirror, change the lights, and then you begin to wonder, is this 2027 or 2006? All right, away from there this morning, we head straight to This Day newspaper. And of course, on the upper third of This Day newspaper, Sanwo-Olu to Obi, you fueled Nigeria's poverty, lack moral right to criticize the federal government. Access to ex-Anambra governor of the degrading country at John Hopkins also defends Tinubu's track record of fighting privatization. You'll find that story on This Day newspaper this morning.
Okay, also from This Day newspaper, democracy not under threat, rejects claim of one-party state. This is about the presidency. And you have the Riders, which says democracy waxing stronger under Tinubu with multi-party ideology, louds president party leadership for making APC attractive to willing Nigerians to join. Interesting. We've been hearing a lot about these defections to APC, and people are like, okay, what's happening here? But you know, as if Felix Mokada was saying that, you know, it's not like they put a gun to people's head. Everybody wants to join because
they chose to join.
What do you think? You know, it's like they feel that APC is a more organized party, while in some quarters people say, well, you know, APC is the party you join, and once you join that party, your sins are forgiven.
I think that's not limited
all
to
things
the APC.
are passed away.
It happened too during the PDP regime. They had 16 years, and then people also cross-carpeted from one political party into the PDP. So that's not a new thing in Nigeria. Once you join, you are saved.
It's not a new thing, but I mean, it's becoming
but
something these days.
The current situation in the country, people actually forgot that. You know, at this point, people also leave the APC to join another political party. We've seen people leave the APC.
We have, but
so
I mean, coming to the APC is something. That's why they're thinking it's a one-party
APC is in, you know,
thing now. I mean, Delta State Governor has also declared, and his his predecessor, that's Ifeanyi Okowa, and it's like, you know, I think it's the Akwa Ibom State Governor. I mean, it's always talking about the good deeds of Tinubu and the rest. We're looking at that, and there are, you know, works. I mean, there are some insinuations that even Fubara might also go there. You know, he had a meeting with the president.
It's so not. I think right now the APC are trying to restructure, re-strategize ahead of the next election, and what they are doing, which I see that will affect the you know, multi-party system, is the fact that they are actually ripping off you know, the sitting governors away from the PDP, taking them to the APC, meaning that the PDP are losing the structures in these states. And then that could result into them not having enough seats. I mean, talking about the number of governors they are currently having, they might not have as much in the next election.
Okay, we're looking at that when our analyst comes in.
All right, still talking about stories on This Day newspaper this morning. I think that's it on This Day. Those are the major stories. We now head straight to the New Telegraph. And then, quarter 1, 2025, all producing states, 13% earnings up. 15.3% to 193.93 billion naira. You'll find that story on the New Telegraph this morning. Okay,
also from the New Telegraph on page 4, it's a sad one that 5 traders shot dead, 7 injured in fresh Benue attacks. Wow.
I think it's becoming a daily thing to see stories like this on the newspaper.
In fact, you know, as a result of these, schools and markets and worship centers have been shot. Wow.
You know, you can't, the problem we have in Nigeria is that we do not understand what insecurity brings. Insecurity in a particular part of the country sets you off balance. It takes things you cherish most away from you. You can't even walk freely without looking on your shoulders, and then you can't even do your daily businesses. Many shops will have to be shut because you don't even know when the next attack is coming.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't go to your farms knowing fully well that that's the most vulnerable place you can be. So meaning that every business transaction is under threat in those places. And aside from that, those are just secondary. The loss of lives and properties, they are the primary ones. Yeah, life, for example, is the primary one. That's the most important. If you feel you are not safe in a particular place, I think that what comes to your head for the first time is safety. Where can I go? And that is why you have people migrating from one place to the other. The problem now is it is easy to actually build properties from scratch. It is very easy. But then, how do you fund it? And then it is a lot easier to destroy them. So meaning that when you destroy properties, lives, and then you can't get lives back anyway.
You can't.
But then you have to understand that it takes billions and billions of naira to resettle these people. And then instead of spending those billions on resettling people who have been displaced, then why can't you spend this money on security? Make them safe. It's as simple as that. Do these places even have police stations? Are there police officers in those places? Are there military bases close to these places? These are questions we should ask our security, head of security personnel in Nigeria. Look, if this is a continuous thing, people will begin to feel unsafe in one part of the country and they begin to migrate. And then when they migrate, they are migrating with the hope of getting, you know, maybe better life, greener pasture somewhere else. And then what do they know they are going to meet in these new places? And then they might even see them as hostiles.
Starting life all over again isn't as easy as it sounds.
That's not the easy thing to do.
Exactly. All right, still on the New Telegraph, this is an interesting one on page 5. It says 240 workers receiving double, that's 240 workers receiving double pay 217 share same BVN, according to Kano State government. Wow, I can't wait to read that story. It's on page 5 of the New Telegraph.
I think that brings us to the fact that I think during the era of past administration in Oyo State, I think that was Governor Biola Ajimobi. That time, may his soul rest in peace. You know, there was this accreditation stuff that were done then, making sure that, you know, if you say you are an employee of the government, let's verify you are an employee. Because we noticed that some monies are going down the drain and we don't even know who are taking these monies. So we want to verify. A lot of backlash came with that then, judging by that. Maybe the process or the procedure was not too, you know, did not sit down well with people.
Okay.
So at that point, it became, you know, a bit of a problem, especially in the media, and then people saying a lot of things about it. But then, bring us to the point that it's a thing that has to be done.
Exactly. I mean, we've seen this happen with a lot of states, you know, where they now trace and find there are a lot of ghost workers.
In fact,
some people are just receiving salaries and not
for a long time, and their monies are still being dropped to their accounts. And even the children, they kept mum enjoying the pay. And they have not reported the fact that the said person is late. And you find people even in the corridor of the civil service who actually share part of this because they know the person is no more. And then they say, okay, look, for you to keep earning this money, we'll help you keep the secret. So you get a share, we get a share. And this is a thing that actually helps Nigeria waste money a lot of times.
But how can people share BVN? 217. I want to really know how it works.
Well, that's because people, they just write it down.
How does this happen?
You cannot do that with the current era we have when systems are in place. If you do that, then probably a new registration, they might be able to detect that. But then most of the times you realize the fact that in that part of the country, they do a lot of paperwork, meaning that oftentimes verifications are not done, you know, as often as expected. Meaning, some people will find a way, even if you are using the computer, some people will still find their way around it. So that's the reason why a lot of times there has to be verifications in between. Intermittently, you verify your employees. Are you still with the civil service? Some people are outside the country and they are earning big money in Nigeria. They are no longer here, but then they still earn money. There was a report, I think, around January this year, talking about Nigerians who live abroad and then they still earn salaries with the civil service in Nigeria. You can only do that when you are working with the government. If you are working in the private sector, nobody will try that because they know once you are not seen at work for 2-3 days, they are asking questions.
Our governors still receive something even when they are no more governors.
That's the point. That's the problem. That's how we waste money in Nigeria. Someone who actually worked for the government for 30-35 years gets peanuts at the end of his or her service and then goes home to nurse his wounds. And then someone who worked for just 4 years, maybe 4 years, or maybe 8 years at most, gets millions and millions of naira. They even get their car gifts maybe every year, and in some places maybe every 2 years or every 3 years. The government just decides to buy cars for ex-governors. And then you calculate all the billions spent on this, you realize the fact this is enough to fix a certain kilometer of road somewhere, enough to fix water problems in some places. And then why are you spending this money on people who are already rich? They made money off the government. Leave them alone. Spend this money on the people, and the governors will think this is the best way to appease to the ex-governors, who in turn will sit back and feel like they are the godfathers now. So they enthrone and dethrone governors. So it's a problem. Not just governors. There are former chairmen who are now the big ones in the political party, and they decide what happens.
Okay, still on the New Telegraph, APC Oberewori Okowa's defection shatters PDP. It has some riders there. Would you read it, Samson?
Okay, talking about the rider, tensions lobbying in Delta as okay, that's not clear enough. Let's go away from there this morning. Lawyer slam Niger governor's order on Togri.
Wow.
That story is on the New Telegraph
and it's on
morning.
Page 4, 14 and 16.
I think he actually received a lot of backlash when he said anyone spotted on dreadlocks should be arrested, and then the dreadlocks being cut off. And people who were actually investors and they feel like they also have this, they complained. Even some lawyers also did that too. Look, you can't just take people off the street and then cut their hair. you have no business doing that. Then he reverted and said they are talking about cultism in the States and how cultists are synonymous to, you know, the kind of, you know, hairstyle. Yeah.
Okay, Army, it's a crime for civilians to wear military uniforms.
Well, that's on page 4 of the New Telegraph. This morning, away from there, Tinubu, Wike doing everything to return Fubara as governor. That's coming from Tompolo. This morning,
for a while, I had not heard from Tompolo, and when I saw this, I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
Tompolo
it was in the news. I think a day before yesterday. Or yesterday.
I was like, "Wow, where has Tompolo been?"
It's been there, and since the Wike Fubara issue started, I think he's been one of the, you know, most vocal about it. But then he has been mild, you know, saying
not like before.
Yeah, the two parties are trying to sort things out, and then he's maybe at one point or the other at the middle of things, trying to pacify the two parties to look, no matter how badly you think you want to fight, it's the people that will bear the brunt. So you have to, you know, soft things down at this point.
All right, still talking about defections. Democracy not under threat in Nigeria, says presidency. Says no government policy seeks to weaken oppositions and movement decimates opposition parties. You can find the story on page 2, 9, 10, and 11 of the New Telegraph.
All right, away from the New Telegraph, this morning we'll go straight to the Blueprint newspaper. NDLEA raids Lagos hotel, recovers over 1 billion naira illicit drug. That's on page 13 of the 1 billion naira. That's a lot of money.
Yes, well done to the NDLEA.
Well, kudos to the NDLEA this morning.
Federal government secures $5.5 billion health investments to train 2,000 personnel yearly. And this comes with the riders. Engages Swiss Academy on Pharmaceutical Institute. And another rider says 22 large-scale projects underway. So according to...
That's coming from Pate this morning.
I saw that story yesterday. I'm like, okay, will this work? The pharmaceutical... we hope for the best in Nigeria, though. But, you know, sometimes you just see some stories and... Pharmaceutical Institute. Well done. We hope this comes to fruition. We'll see what
happens. I think that's exactly where Nigerians need to track news and say to it that, you know, government actually fulfill their promises. Many a times you will see stories like this on the pages of the newspaper, and then years later
you don't hear anything
about it again. And there has been visions that were not really fulfilled in Nigeria. We had the vision 2020, and then you begin to, well, the coronavirus actually did, you know. But then, before coronavirus came, were we actually working towards achieving the vision 2020? How close were we?
You know, I was going to say that, and you took it right from my mouth. You know, I remember when we got to 2020, I was even saying in my other place, I was saying, 2020, you know, there was this 2020 hit then. This one will happen by the year 2020. Food for all by the year 2020. House for all by the year 2020. 2020 came, we did not see it. And this had been going on long before 2020.
All right, away from there, this morning, Governor Sani hails Ajayi as DSS bust Kaduna bandits, gun runners. You'll find that story on the Blueprint newspaper this morning.
Okay, so on the Blueprint newspaper, Tinubu's re-election will reshape political landscape. AYN is saying this. Tinubu's re-election will reshape political landscape.
Okay, that's coming from AYN. It's a big story there, and that's a bold claim.
All right.
We'll wait to see that anyway.
Well, on the business page of the Blueprint, just before we go to business news, NDIC commences 46.6 billion naira payments to Heritage Bank depositors.
All right, so we take these stories on the Blueprint newspaper. Government abduct 7 in Kwara, police rescue 2. That's on page 6. Reforms in oil, gas to improve revenue, support budget. That's credited to the LCCI this morning. It's on page 23. And then, on
page 6 of the Blueprint, you also have this news that Wike clamps down on quack hospitals and doctors. You know, there was this news about a woman who lost her life, a pregnant woman, I think, and as a result, because from the what I saw about the husband said as a result of no lights.
Yeah, they started the operation with PHCN electricity, and then while the operation was going on, they took the lights, and then there was no fuel in the generator.
Oh my goodness,
so that was how
they lost, really
they
so
lost
sad.
The woman.
Really so sad. May her soul rest in peace.
Rest in peace. All right, away from there, this morning we'll go to the Business Day newspaper and take the business story. Rising demand fuels a silent palm oil boom. Investors are seen marking $855 million for cultivation in Edo. Also, another rider says Delta communities allocate 130,000 hectares to over 145 firms. You'll find that story on Business Day newspaper this morning. Also
on Business Day newspaper, UBA distributes 171 billion naira dividend, eyes 150 billion naira in new capital.
All right, so we'll take this one. Edo Cardozo say Nigeria's reforms gaining global traction. It says exchange rate gap disappearing. Is that really so?
Well, I wonder.
Okay, away from there, let's take the sporting story on the Blueprints newspaper this morning. And then says, for the 20th time, Liverpool crowned EPL champions. You'll find that story on the top right corner of the Blueprints newspaper this morning. That was, they actually met Manchester United on the way. Manchester United was on 20, and then Liverpool now 20. So it's been a rivalry from time immemorial in the EPL. Wonderful. And I say congratulations to Liverpool fans this morning.
Never walk alone.
Never walk alone. All right, that brings us to the end of our newspaper review segment this morning. We now head straight for a short break. Don't forget, the show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, your channel of choice, where inspiration meets entertainment. You can be a part of the conversation by dropping your comments on our YouTube stream at Dominion Broadcast. Look for that page on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then you watch us live and drop your comments there too. You can also watch us live on our website at dominion.org.ng, at dominion.org.ng. Also, link up with us on all the other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it is at Dominion Broadcast. And lastly, on X, it is at Dominion Cast. We'll be back after this time out. All right, welcome back from that short break. The show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, and then we are at that segment where we bring you unbiased analysis and undiluted reportage. Thank you once again for being a part of the show so far. And then we have in the studio this morning Raphael Ogidon, who is a public affairs analyst, and with him we'll be doing justice to the major stories on the pages of the newspaper. But before then, we'll be talking about a major topic we'll be talking about this morning, and that has a lot to do with the World Day for Safety and Health at Workplaces. This is what we'll be talking about this morning. Raphael, good to have you in the studio this morning.
Thank you so much, Samson.
You're welcome, Raphael.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Good to have you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Talking about health and safety at workplaces, it is beyond helmets and construction sites.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? How best can people be protected in their workplaces by themselves and then against, the hazards we see on a daily basis?
No, it said health is wealth. And for a workplace to be a very safe place, it starts with the mode of work. Then, when the environment is conducive for staff to discharge their obligation, they will put in all their best to do it. But when an environment is toxic, when an environment is hostile, it affects the mental health.
The flow of work.
It affects the flow of work. It also affects the mental health of the staff. So that's why on Friday I was watching your social media page. I saw some of you guys, you were bonding, dancing, vibing, and I felt like, oh, this is a way of keeping the staff. You say all work without play makes Jack a dull boy. So after the work of the week, you guys need to bond and enjoy yourself and kind of feel relaxed. A workplace should not be a place a place for crucifixion. It should not be a place where people, when they thought of going to work, they start having some thoughts that, oh, a workplace should be a place where you discharge your passion. So now, talking about the safety of the workplace, the manager needs to put everything in place to make sure that at least it is easier for the workers to discharge their skills and their duties. For example, the place should be very, very conducive. Probably if there is AC, it should, I've seen a place of work where it's just like an oven. And I feel like, and people are working in this place. There's no way they would discharge their duty 100% under that kind of condition, where there is heat, where there is unhealthy rivalry. So,
okay, so when you talk about things like this, what measures should employers look at, for safety and good working conditions? What are the measures that should be implemented? I know both from the employer side and the employees. What should the employers do? What should employee also do? Because it takes two to tango.
Yes. So now, I tell you this. When you have, as an employer, let me start from the employer, then I'll go back to the employee. When you as an employer, you need to make the environment conducive for the work to flow by providing all necessary tools. System, if it is computer system, if it is a camera, if it is, you need to provide all the tools that will make your staff discharge its obligation 100%. That is one. Then two, aside the safety of the environment, the electrical installation, they're well placed, there's fire extinguisher, there's all arms are taken away. Now come to the mental health of your staff. How are you taking care? Most organizations don't have HMO, which is very, very wrong. You can work, and when the pressure of the work is much, we've seen staff that collapse in workplaces. If a staff should collapse in workplaces, is there first aid? Is there first aid for them that can at least resuscitate
minor accident,
or not a minor, or even if there is a minor accident, what is put in place to take care of those minor accidents? So the employers need to do that. And if there's not a major accident, God forbid, but let's put God out of it and let us take care of our own
reality
and face the reality. If there's a major accident, what hospital does the company subscribe
a relationship
with that can respond immediately to that? Then another thing I tell people is that there's this thing the company needs to put in place, and that is payment of salary at the right time, because there's nothing disturbing the mental health of that staff than him or her not getting salary as at when due.
We've seen people being owed 5 months. I've seen someone hold 10 months before, and I was asking, and you waited for 10 months. What were you thinking?
Now, you see, we have different categories of workers or staff. There are people who have real passion for what they do.
Even when you don't get paid,
and,
you keep
and
working.
when they don't get paid, they keep working, they keep discharging what they know how to do best, and
is
they
that,
enjoy.
Is that your definition of passion?
They enjoy being owed.
No. Not that they enjoy being owed.
Okay.
They enjoy what they are doing. They enjoy the work.
So whether the money comes or not.
And if you see,
if you're short paid, it's different. You know, not paid up to. But when you're not paid at all,
if you see such a staff, they either have second address, but this is where they have passion. And if you take them off it, it's just like you taking the fish out of the water. So they have passion for it. So some employer capitalize on those passion. They have passion. This guy, he loves to work, and they keep on maltreating. But there's a danger in that, and the danger is that you lose your dedicated staff at one point.
Yeah.
Because you see that staff you are not taking care of, there are others outside looking at that staff. And when the right, everybody has a price. When the right price comes, the worker will even ditch you without even giving you notice.
The danger of workers living in mass.
Yeah.
What they decide to leave, and then it's not just one person, it's about...
Yes. And you see, whatever business you set up and you have workers, you are not the only one doing that business. There are other people doing it.
Who also appreciate talent.
Who also appreciate talent. And in business, there is rivalry. And like we have in football, they will look at, okay, that player is very, very good, talented. They're not paying that player well. I can even double up the salary. And like, oh, I'd like you to work to play for my team. I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this set in place for you. The worker will not think twice. But when you take care of your worker very well, even when the offer comes, they look at it like, I'm okay, I'm happy here. So the happiness of the staff also matters.
All right, what of the case where, you know, these things you have mentioned are provided for the employee?
But the employer still did not get the best from the employees.
No, you see, that is why...
Payment is at when due, the payment is good, all the different amenities is there for you to be happy, just like you said, provide this, provide that. AC is blowing 24/7, it's not hot, and yet...
That is why there is key performance index, KPI. What have you done?
Or what are you doing?
Or what are you doing? So if a staff knows that, okay, there's a KPI and the threshold is probably 60% or 70%, and he himself will judge that, oh, have I be able to meet up to what I've been asked to do? Are you getting me? So that is that. There's KPI for that. So now I said the mental health. Once a worker is not thinking of bills, all focus will be on the job.
There's no way you not think of bills. Even if you get paid enough, you still think of bills. Because if you get, let's take for example, if you are paid 400,000 for a salary, the next month you begin to think of how to hand it 100,000, meaning that your expenses increases the more you earn.
Of course. Of course. Like
when they say more money, more
more problems.
No, more money, more troubles. And there's also adage that says, a street word that says that problem no they finish. So if your problem is money, you just need to be contented with what you have. If you're not contented with it, you go extra mile to do the unthinkable.
The unthinkable. Wow.
So if you are, so now coming back to the staff, when the employer takes care of the staff very well and makes sure and put a culture where the staff feels that they own up the organization, that, like, for example, this Dominion Television, the mentality is that we all own this station establishment. So you take care of it as if it is your own. So when that culture is entrenched, then the workflow becomes seamless.
Okay, so when we look now, we have talked about employer to employee, employee to employer. So what about employee to employee? When some employees don't want to give you a break in the same organization you people are, I mean, that is one thing too that affects mental health and may drive you into depression. Where your fellow
about witch hunt, someone decides
to
just give
attack you on a daily for your work and all that, you can't concentrate.
For every establishment, there must be a code of conduct. Once there is a code of conduct and there is a breach in that code of conduct, there is an authority to report to. And that authority sit down, look at the circumstances and say, okay, if, for example, we've seen in different organizations where there are cases of sexual harassment, there are cases of intimidation and the rest. So, and these two staff are valuable staff to the employer. The employer cannot afford to lose them. Now, there's this case. The best thing is you either change their operations so that they don't have any way to interact. And if there is no way you can change the operation, you put a standing rules.
Well, I don't really agree with when you say what's that word you use? If they are valuable, because everybody in any organization should be valuable to you as an employer. So when you say because they are not valuable, so for instance, because you feel this person is not valuable, but the person is disturbing another employee, so to say, in quote, not letting the employee focus, then you might just overlook it because you feel it's not valuable.
No, not overlooking. Now, I said something before. I said there is a code of conduct. Every organization should have a code of conduct, how you operate. Channel of operation. Who do you report to? Now, if, for example, your superior is intimidating you, your superior also have someone he is reporting to. So, and there should be a channel for communication. If you are right and you feel okay, your right has been infringed, you put up a memo, you send it to the superior. The superior look at it, and if it's something that the management needs to take a decision, the management will sit down, call you, you make your own claim, your superior make his or her own claim, and the management look at the merits of the case and take decision. And whatever decision is taken binds on both parties.
All right, away from there this morning, we'll go straight into the pages of the newspaper and take some stories there for analysis this morning. But then, before we go, safety is everyone's responsibility. Yeah. And do not wait until an accident happens before you take action. All right, away from there, we'll go straight to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. And then there's a story that says Tinubu's government making efforts to dismantle democratic foundations. Odinkalu, Ojudu, Jinodu, 15 others won on page 23 of the Nigerian Tribune. And then they won against country's march towards a one-party state. Also, we didn't fight to end military dictatorship, only to enthrone civilians, meaning that with the current spate of defections we are having in Nigeria, some people are beginning to raise concerns as regards the fact that, look, isn't this an era where there will be just one political party in Nigeria, and then there's just one person who has been enthroned and then has all the powers? And we have seen cases of opposition parties not really playing the role of an opposition party in Nigeria. It's not just about criticism. It has to be constructive. And then that puts you in a better place when you are contesting for election under that political party in the next election. They know you know your onions. What you have been saying over the past 3 years says a lot about your own ideology as a political party. Do we have that in Nigeria, Raphael? Okay,
now let me break it down for you. You see this route that we're passing through. We passed through it in 2023. In 2003. In 1999, we have PDP, we have ANPP, we have AD. And is there any other political? I think those are the three political parties we have. Strong ones. Yes, that we have then. That after the 1999 election, but in 2003, Obasanjo came with the tsunami. In Southwest had AD, Alliance for Democracy. They were controlling Southwest. But when Obasanjo, during his administration, he formed alliance with the governors, and at the end of the day, PDP took over majority of the Southwest states except Lagos. So out of the 6 states in the Southwest, 5 fell to the PDP. Now, back to the Southeast. APP was controlling the Southeast. The whole Southeast fell to PDP. Back to the South-South, PDP took over those places. Then in the North, we're having ANPP. ANPP was controlling like at least 5 or 6 states in the North. Now, in the Southwest, AD, Tinubu was the governor of Lagos State then. And he maintained the stand despite the tsunami, despite the ruling party owing up large numbers of states.
His allocations were
now, one thing I want to say to our opposition political party is that they are lazy. We have lazy opposition political parties in Nigeria.
What parties what parties are these?
No, all the opposition parties. I said the opposition parties are lazy.
Every other party that is an opposition.
Every other parties. Because one, if AD can stand, ANPP can still hold on to their ground, despite the fact that many of their contemporaries fell for the ruling party.
What is the role of an opposition party?
Now, the role of an opposition party is to provide alternative to what the ruling party is doing. If the ruling party is going left, the opposition party will tell you that if we go right, we will get to a better destination than going left. That is the role of the opposition party.
All they can do is to just talk.
No, the opposition party, see, opposition party means providing alternative solution.
By talking.
Not even by talking.
By doing what?
Now, in Nigeria now, we have the ruling APC. We have the PDP, which is the opposition, major opposition political party. We have the Labour Party. We have, and those are the three, those are the 2 opposition parties we have holding up to the state. Now, we have the SDP, who also have elective position in the National Assembly. What are they doing different from what the APC senators or House of Honorable are doing?
Maybe they've not been given a chance to do something.
It is the same, not that given a chance. You are elected. Once you are elected, you are entitled to some form of allocation. In Abia State, we have the Labour Party, Oti, as
who is already being rumored as
the governor. Now,
even though there has been denial.
That is why I said we have lazy opposition political party. Did you think that Obasanjo did not offer Tinubu when he was the governor or opportunity to join the PDP? But he refused, and he built the AD metamorphosed to AC, to ACN, then to, before the coalition in 2014, brought about the APC. And today they were able to come to stage a comeback and eject the ruling PDP then from power. So what are we saying is that if the opposition put their house in order and they provide alternative, why did the APC took over the government from the ruling PDP in 2015? It was because they provided the people with alternative solutions.
Have you thought about party funding? How do you fund a political party when you are not in power?
Now
They need money. They have to cross carpet.
No. I disagree.
They have to survive.
I disagree. Now
most of these politicians want contracts. They want to be a part of the government.
Now let me tell you something. At a point when APC was being formed, they opened up a register that each member Nigerians.
All right, welcome back from that short break. We now link up with Morayo Olua Akintoba for Trend Watch this morning. Good morning to you, Morayo.
Good morning, Samson. How are you doing?
All right, good to have you on the show this morning.
It's good to see you this morning. You look really good.
There's quite a lot to talk about in the world of entertainment, especially for the over-and weekends and a lot of reactions on Twitter, definitely. X to be precise.
Yes, definitely.
All right, good to have you.
Thank you so much, Samson. It's another beautiful Monday morning. It's the start of a new week, and this is Trend Watch on Dominion Television. My name is Morayo Olua, here to bring you all that is happening on social media. This morning we start with a Jam. You know, they trended a lot over the course of the weekend as influencers such as Osas Baby and Enioluwa came out to speak on JAMB. You know, they were very unhappy over the course of the weekend as they complained that, you know, young children between the ages of 14 to 16 are waking up early in the morning for an exam of 6:30, and, you know, JAMB isn't even posting them to centers close to their homes, right? It wasn't a happy weekend for them, as they complained that, you know, their siblings, they had to take their siblings to the JAMB centers, and they stood outside for hours, first of all, and then it started raining. And during the rain, you know, the examiners ran back inside and left the children in the rain. Now, when the rain stopped, instead of them to, you know, hurry the children in so that they can start their exams, they were still slow. And so these children were stuck in the rain again. And, you know, it wasn't an interesting weekend, to be honest. Let's take a look at some of the comments that were made on X this morning. All right, Niger PR says, JAMB has overstayed its relevance. The first step is to cancel the idea of posting students to exam centers further than areas they live. May all those who needlessly lost their lives because of the risk that JAMB examination exposed them to rest in peace. It's a sad one because, for example, if you live in Ibadan and you stay in Bodija, there's no need for you to go and write an exam in Challenge. I'm sure that there are centers close enough in Bodija that you can post these students to, so that they don't have to wake up too early in the morning and start commuting too early. We all know the security situation in the country. It's sometimes not safe to start commuting that early. So it's important that, you know, JAMB takes this into consideration as they post students closer to their residences. All right, let's take a look at another social media comment. CCYemi.com says, a lady made a video imploring that JAMB should stop posting students too far off locations for exams, and the time is too early. I agree, 6:30 a.m. is too early for a student to wake up, get ready, and then begin the journey to an exam. It's not easy at all. Allegedly, some kids from Ogbomoso died on their way to Oyo. What baffled me was the comment. Some said it was like this in my time, so let it continue. I understand that, yes, it might have been like that in your time, but the condition that we are in today doesn't necessitate this, to be honest. Students should not be posted too far away, all right? So it's important that, you know, JAMB takes this into consideration and does better, to be honest. Moving on this morning to another interesting topic, Bone Straight was trending over the weekend. And here's why. Bola Montana posted, let's take a look at her comment actually. I want to read her comments to you. Omo, girl to girl, if you get money, buy at least Bone Straight to Yalaya and one wigs. What she's basically saying, I don't know how this was misconstrued. She was just saying that if you have the money and you can afford it, get a Bone Straight wig. It is a good wig, right? Not saying that, you know, you should do bad things or, you know, your natural hair is not beautiful enough. All she said was, if you have the money, buy this wig. And of course you can trust social media users to come for her unnecessarily, if you ask me. Let's take a look at a story that, you know, someone told and how, you know, it affected her. All right. Tiara Oluwa says this. This hair conversation is crazy, to be honest. There's a skincare store close to my house that I used to go to a while back. The attendant was always so rude and weird to me. Then one day I went there from an event with my Bone Straight and she was the nicest person. Oh my gosh. Let's take a look at the next comment because it's a continuation. I couldn't believe my eyes because the skincare products in that store are generally more expensive than the other stores with at least 3 to 5K. So one would think that me coming there meant that I had some money, but low cut was my problem. So Tiara is saying that, you know, she had first gone to the skincare store with her low cut, no wig, looking all natural, beautiful young lady. But, you know, the attendant was giving her attitude, like, who is this one, no money, why are you coming here, and all that, because of her low cut. And then on this day, she went with her Bone Straight and she was accorded some level of respect because of the hair she was wearing. We find this to be a general theme in Nigeria now, that, you know, you're looked at and you're, you know, valued, and if you don't, you know, have expensive hair, you don't have your hair all made up, you're not in expensive clothes or shoes, you're immediately thrown to the side and not treated with any respect. This is what happens in the country. But, you know, what Bola Montana was just trying to say, that if you have the money, buy this hair. Not saying that it should, you know, accord you some level of respect in the society. And I don't know why social media users took it the other way. But let's take a look at some more comments on social media. All right, Finest Annie says, I can keep natural hair and still have bone straight. Serves different purpose. Exactly. I can have my natural hair, I can rock my natural hair beautifully and still have my wig with me. And that is fine. Nobody is saying you shouldn't. But again, this is not what Bola Montana meant. Okay, let's take a look at another comment. Girl to girl, your natural hair is 10 times better than the bone straight wig. Care for your hair and rock it with all your heart. I don't know if I agree to this. Definitely, you know, rock your natural hair. That is it's beautiful, it's luscious if you treat it well though. If you don't treat it well, I don't know about that. But you know, if you treat your natural hair well, it will blossom, it will grow. But I mean, some people don't like to have to struggle with their hair, to be honest. They want to throw on a wig or have braids on and just keep it pushing. So it's really not this deep, if you ask me. Let's take a look at another comment. All right, Big Flo says, do you know it's possible to be a natural hair girly and also like and have a bone straight hair? Yes, while being a braids girl in the mix. Like, do you know that? Y'all are so exhausting. Both sides of the argument are annoying. Now, some people are on the side of, yes, you know, have your natural hair. Others are on the side of, oh no, you know, just always wear your wig. I'm in the middle. I can be a braids girl, I can be a wig girl, and I can rock my natural hair beautifully. But to be honest, what do you think? Let us know your, you know, what do you think about these stories in the comments? Are you a wig girl? Are you a, I don't care, let me just go out? Where do you stand? All right, and that is all I have for you this morning on Trend Watch. Thank you so much for watching. Back to Evie and Samson in the studio.
All right, thank you, Morayo Olua, for being a part of the show this morning.
Thank you so much, Samson.
Good to have you. All right, we'll now move straight to the next segment on the show this morning. Don't forget, the show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, your channel of choice. You can be a part of the conversation. Drop a comment on our YouTube channel by subscribing to that channel at Dominion Broadcast. You can also watch us live on our website at dominion.org.ng, at dominion.org.ng, and then do well to follow, subscribe, and like other pages, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X it is at Dominion Cast. We now head straight to the next segment this morning, and that's the last round, and that's the sports segment, which is Daybreak Sport on Dominion Television. All right, with us this morning to do sport is Boluaji Ogumola. Good to have you in the studio. All right, okay, still talking about sport and other entertainment stories that we have had this morning, talking about Abby, the JAMB issue, which students had to travel far distance. Was talking to Wemimo a few minutes ago. She lives in Ibadan, had to write a JAMB in Igboho, and then at the point she wrote another one in Kishi, and she lives in Ibadan. So meaning she had to go a day before the exam, and these exams are even fixed, you know, at a particular time when you might not even have the luxury of traveling here and there. I think these are things JAMB should look at. If you are writing an exam, especially JAMB, it should be fixed somewhere very close to your environment. And students should also be allowed to pick centers. I think I could remember there was a time when there were exams being wrote, NECO GCE, then you had the luxury of picking your centers and a host of other exams like that. So why not to do the same thing for JAMB?
I mean, I heard about a girl who died.
Who lost her life.
That broke my heart. I think she was actually, you know, on transit to the place.
She was traveling to write her exam.
Yeah, she made a call to her sister that she was like scared. I don't know whether the vehicle she was in, you know, there was just this feeling. And that was the last. And then suddenly when her body, you know, when they finally found her, you know, all over social media crying that they can't find the girl. they found her dead body. It broke my heart. I'm like,
I think that's for me.
This is really terrible. And then with the comments we just saw, that some children, wow, even left in the rain.
I think it is inhumane to put an exam like JAMB where you don't even live in those centers. You have to go from home 6:30 a.m. in the morning. That's serious. All right, we'll go on a short break, and we'll be back after this time out. And then when we do, we'll go straight to Daybreak Sport this morning. We'll be back after this time out.
Well, good morning, Nigerians. It's a beautiful Saturday, a beautiful Monday morning anyways. And of course, what a weekend we had in the world of sports. Still in the mood of the weekend as we're served to a lot of interesting actions in the world of sport. Teams lifted leagues across Europe and of course in Nigeria. And some teams also got relegated. All of this we'll be discussing on Daybreak Sport this lovely morning. My name is Boluwaji Oguma. I mean, there you have it on your screen. Remo Stars yesterday were crowned champions of the Nigerian Premier Football League following their 1-0 victory over Niger Tornadoes. And of course, they established an unassailable lead on the table of the Nigerian Premier Football League. They've been fantastic so far this season. And I must tell you that they became only the first privately owned team and the first Southwest team to win this league in the last 25 years. The last privately owned club that won the league was Julius Berger back in year 2000. And 2010, Remo Stars was formed, and in 2025, 15 years later, they actually won the league. And they won it yesterday. And guess what? Yesterday was the birthday of their proprietor, that's Honorable Kunle Shonami. And what a way to celebrate the league and celebrate the birthday of your proprietor. Let's take a look at other league games played across the country yesterday in the Nigerian Premier Football League, aside this victorious outing of Niger Tornadoes. On Friday, Kano Pillars were 2 goals to nothing better than Rivers United, and that result actually played an important role in the victory of Remo Stars. Also on Sunday, National United won it better than Heartland. Plateau United versus Bender Insurance ended 2 goals to nothing. And Kwara United were something else against relegated Lobby Stars. Rangers lost at home to Eyimba Football Club, and that was Rangers' 8th home loss of the season. Sunshine Stars also did a very good job. Still taking a look at the results of the NPFL. Shooting Stars didn't cover themselves in glory over the weekend. They lost against Abia Warriors 3 goals to 1, and Shooting Stars have only won just once in their last 12 league matches in the NPFL. Not a good one for the Oliole Warriors. And we'll take a look at the impact on the league table very shortly, but then we'll also have to talk about the Ikorodu City away from home. They lost. Now, here you have the table. Remo Stars, already crowned champion with 68 points. 10 points better than second place Rivers United. Abia Warriors are third as we speak. Ikorodu City. And let's take a look at Shooting Stars in Ibadan. Following the loss yesterday, they are now 11th on the table. No league title, no continental football. That's the situation at this moment at Shooting Stars. Not the position that fans would imagine that the team that almost picked up a ticket to the continent last season will be mid-table as we speak. Quite unfortunate, really. Well, from there, let's cross to the continent of Africa, where we had continental football over the weekend. We had the Champions League semi-finals and the Confederation Cup in Africa as well. Let's talk about the CAF Champions League first, where Mamelodi Sundowns clinched a very important victory over the weekend. Mamelodi Sundowns, yes, they won their game, and of course they are through to the finals of this year's CAF Champions League, and of course they'll be playing FC Pyramid of Egypt. Sundowns knocked out Al Ahly Football Club of Egypt, while Pyramids knocked out Orlando Pirates of South Africa. And of course in the CAF Confederations Cup yesterday, RS Berkane secured a spot in the finals of this year's Confederations Cup following that important win. They knocked out Constantine, and then they will have to settle for a date with Simba SC in the finals of this year's CAF Confederations Cup. We wish them all the very best. Moving on, let's talk female football. Well, Nigeria under-17 girls, the Flamingos, on Friday qualified for this year's FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup following a goalless draw against Algeria in the Friday's second leg encounter. First leg played last weekend ended 4-0 in favor of the Nigerian girls. And of course, they did the job goalless in Algeria on Friday, and they are through to the Under-17 FIFA World Cup holding in Morocco later in November. Well, from our girls, let's talk about the Under-20 African Cup of Nations, where, well, our boys, the Flying Eagles, they will open up their own campaign later on Thursday when they take on their Tunisian counterpart. But before we talk about their Tunisian counterpart, let's talk about what we saw at the Under-20 AFCON yesterday in Egypt. Well, yesterday, the Under-20 African Cup of Nations kicked off with a very tightly contested encounter between Zambia and Sierra Leone to open up the competition. And then we had the opening fixture between Egypt and South Africa, which the Egyptians won by a single goal, courtesy of a 54th minute goal by Ahmed Khalid. The one on your screen was the second game played, and that was between Zambia and Sierra Leone, ended goalless. And of course, Egypt defeated South Africa by a single goal yesterday. Don't forget the Flying Eagles of Nigeria will, of course, take on their Tunisian counterpart on the 1st of May, that's on Thursday, of course, in that company. We wish the boys all the very best. Don't forget, they had a pre-tournament friendly against host Egypt last week, Tuesday, and it was a victorious outing for our boys. Well, we wish them all the very best in this competition. We'll continue to monitor them, and we believe that they will do us really proud. And there you have a schedule of all of those fixtures to look forward to during the competition. Yesterday we had games. No game today, no game tomorrow. On Wednesday, we would have a game. Yes, we have two games on Wednesday, and on Thursday, that's when Nigeria will be playing their own game. Away from that, let's cross over to the world of boxing quickly. Very important information from the world of boxing this lovely morning. Alexander Usyk is rematch with Daniel Dubois for the undisputed world heavyweight title fight has been scheduled for Saturday, the 19th of July at the Wembley Stadium. Dubois lost inside 9 rounds to Usyk in 2023, but only after sending the Ukrainian boxer to the canvas with a blow that the referee ruled out. Now, the Briton now has his chance to exert revenge in that game. While we keep our fingers crossed, we'll continue to monitor that and bring you updates as we count down to that undisputed heavyweight fight between Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois. All because of our time, let's return to the world of football and talk about the Premier League. As Liverpool Football Club have officially been crowned the Premier League champions for the 2024-2025 season following their win over Tottenham Hotspur. Fantastic win over Tottenham Hotspur yesterday, 5-1. They won yesterday, and of course, they have now leveled with Manchester United, of course, and the historic record of 20 top-flight titles. Just to also inform you that their coach, Arne Slot, has become the first Dutch manager to win the Premier League title. And also, Virgil van Dijk, also the first player, captain, and of course, to win the Premier League title. Congratulations to the two of them, of course, to Liverpool Football Club. Well, I'll also inform you that Crystal Palace and Manchester City will play in this year's FA Cup finals as well. Well, that's all time permits us, but of course I won't leave without saying that congratulations to Barcelona for winning the Copa del Rey. 3-2 they won against Real Madrid on Saturday. At Sports this morning on Daybreak Live. Welcome back for that short break. The show is still Daybreak Live, and yes, we have to go.
this morning. Thank you for being a part of the show so far. And I want to tell you this morning that the secret of getting ahead is getting started. Every great journey begins with a single determined step. And that's the convenient point where we draw the curtains on today's edition of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Samson Balu is my name.
All right, my name is Abby Dickinson. Just like Samson said, getting started. We got started and we're at the end of Daybreak Live this wonderful, beautiful Monday morning. We'll see you tomorrow by the grace of God. Do well to join us. 7 a.m. is the time. God bless Nigeria.
Someone told me that at the last count, there are about 53 radio stations within the broadcast landscape alone. And I said, yes, why not? We are here